Vonnegut was trying to be a family man and create a very stable life for his family and recreate the atmosphere that he had when he was in Germany.
Now at the end of the talk, which was very good.
Thank you.
Tell me again about the Turner. The Turner's, I understand the Turner movement. Was it actually a family as well?
No, Turner was not a family name. Turnen in German means to do gymnastics. It's something that Friedrich Jahn kind of made up when he was doing it. He thought that it had German roots, but it's a foreign word from all the research that I could find.
So the hardware stores were throughout Indianapolis. I live in the Broadville area, and I know that there was one there. I'm not sure when it closed, but
yeah, they were all mostly within the 460, what is currently the 465 Beltway.
Okay. It must have been there maybe through the 50s. Do you have any idea?
Because they closed in 66.
Okay. Yeah, because my wife remembers it being in Broadville.
I'd like to say a couple more things. Even though I focus on the Vonneguts, that's not his only branch of his family. Like I said, the Lieber family, which is his mother's side, was a huge brewing industry, but they lost that during Prohibition. The Schnoll family, who are double cousins, these guys are, the Schnoll sisters, Emma and Nanette, married Clemens and Bernard Vonnegut. I'm not sure the full story
so
there.
Brothers?
Brothers married sisters.
Okay.
The Schnoll family, Henry Schnoll, was responsible for developing the wholesale district of Indianapolis. And I forget, the Barris family was also quite important, though I forget at the moment what they were important for.
You say the Barris family?
Barris. Oh, Barris? Barris.
Any other questions?
So were women involved in the Turner movement, or just men?
They had their own Damenvereins, and there were also co-ed gymnastics classes. But usually they weren't involved in the actual meetings that the men were having, and that's just due to a cultural thing.
So who was your favorite that you learned about?
I like Clemens Vonnegut a lot. He was the most interesting, because he did so much with his life, and it's hard to measure up with people like that, but it creates a really good example that if you work hard in some place, and you can make it big and still be talked about 100 years after you die.
Well, it's interesting that they were so open about anti-slavery and everyone voting, but they weren't very liberated when it comes to women, right?
I mean, that's not to say that they weren't involved, because here in this picture, if you can see it through the darkness, this is a co-ed gym class, and that was something that wasn't happening in mainstream society. They were also against blue laws, which would prohibit the sale of alcohol and the consumption of alcohol, and that often put them in contest with the right-wing conservative religious groups.
If I understood you right, they were wanting to keep the Christian or the church separate from what they were doing.
Oh yeah.
They named their children after that.
Yeah.
So there was, kind of goes along with that, they took a stance, but they lived it too.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. So, Kurt Vonnegut Sr., I have different impressions of what he must have been like based on different things I've read. What is your impression of his personality or his fathering skills?
He kind of seemed like a grumpy old man to me, just kind of fed up with the world, because in my paper I wrote about how they had Weltschmerz, which is kind of a pain towards the world at the end of their life. They were going through depression because
Physical depression
both.
or the depression?
Both, one because of the other.
Okay.
So he lost a lot of money. I mean, I don't think I would be very happy if I lost my entire family's fortune in a couple weeks during the stock market crash.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
He has Bernard, who actually discovered the silver nitrate thing that makes it rain. I'm not sure about the details about that, but he is a physicist, I think, a chemist or a physicist. And his sister is Alice, and he actually adopted his sister's children when she and her husband died tragically within 2 days of each other. Yeah, that's a pretty terrible story. She had cancer or some form of chronic illness that eventually killed her. And then 2 days, either before or after she died, her husband was killed in a commuter train crash. So they had 4 kids that were left parentless. So Kurt decided to take them under his wing.
Well, you must have enjoyed this research, because
Yes.
you know it and you're enthusiastic about it.
Kurt Sr. was maybe not the greatest father, but, and certainly product of his times with the Depression, but he was a tremendous architect. There was an exhibit at the Art Center a couple of years ago that showed some of his renderings, and just phenomenal work.
Yeah, he was one of the people that helped to found the Indianapolis Art Museum. He was a member of the society that helped open it and keep it running. That was
Kurt's dad was?
Yeah.
He was also, I don't remember all the details, but very active in the founding of the Children's Museum.
Really?
Wow. Well, the Herring School was the Indianapolis Museum of Art until they built on the Willie grounds, and he designed that building.
How do you build a building by hand? I know that's not the realm of Vonnegut family history, but.
From what I've heard, they attach rubber hoses to all the utilities and just really slowly. There's a couple of areas.
Oh, so they actually put a platform or anything like,
I forget the exact workings of it, but it was quite a feat. I've seen some aerial photos where it's like this, and then it changes to that, and then it changes to that at the end. It's pretty amazing that they did that by hand.
And moved the block.
And moved the block.
And moved completely a whole block?
Yep.
Whoa. Will your paper be available?
Yeah, if you'd be interested, I can give you my contact information, and I can send you a copy of my paper if you'd like.
What made Kurt start writing?
He was trying to rectify questions that he had within himself, because his entire life he was told that, German culture is great and American culture is great, but then World War II happened and the Nazis were killing people for no reason, and Americans, because he was in Dresden, they firebombed the hell out of that place. And yeah, they completely destroyed the city, but he was in his slaughterhouse meat locker, which saved his life, and he was trying to rectify questions that he had within his mind of how, in God's name, that could happen. These two great societies and cultures could just be so senseless and destroy such a beautiful place. So he kind of was shunned from his Indianapolis family.
Based on the book, or?
Yeah, because they were really conservative, and what he was writing, I don't know if many of you have read this book, but it's really very strange. Some parts of it, it's like time travel, stuff like that. But they didn't really accept that. So
And also right after the war, when he came back, he wanted to talk about it when the other veterans were not very interested in revisiting those memories. And my understanding is that, when he began to question the use of the various bombings in Japan and Germany and elsewhere. That's when he wasn't very popular at that point, and it took about 20 years around Vietnam for our country to accept those ideas about our World War II experience.
another thing that kind of pushed him away was his mother's suicide. She killed herself around the time that he left for the army, and if you lose your mom, nothing at home is going to be the same. So when he came back, he was really tore up about that still. So he had to go somewhere else to rectify that while he was writing.
Excellent.
Any other
Thank you.
questions?
Yeah.
2007.
So now you understand why I was so delighted when this young man walked through our door. And you know, I had never had interns before, so I didn't really know what you do with interns. So I basically.
I've never been an intern before.
I basically
Win-win.
said, well, you know, I don't really know what I want because I don't know what's available, and go forward. And so another very important part of this project is he came up with all of this on his own. And he put hours and hours into this, and when you look at the research he's done, when you read his report, you know, you see someone who has put probably 2 years worth of classwork into this one summer. And we are tremendously grateful to have this knowledge and to be able to share it, because I didn't know 90% of the information he shared with you tonight. So thank you so much. And also thanks to Austin for the beautiful design work and
What about this easel here? Was this your own creation?
No.
we love this easel. Someone loaned that to us and we use it every time, and yeah, we love the paint and the ratty appearance.
Yeah, I said Kurt would have liked it.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.